Good evening, everybody, and welcome. We are live. This is Joseph, one half of Power Couple, in with you this evening, and welcome to one of the few channels that's not attempting to piggyback off of the Fortnite World Cup. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. I am going to be playing and continuing my series of playing Final Fantasy XIV. I am very excited this evening to be picking off or at least starting back up to where we left off from the 7th Astral Era main quest. We're making our way towards getting towards Ishgard so we can unlock the Dark Knight and we can unlock a couple of other classes, and then we're going to make a push towards 60 so we can hopefully unlock the Gunbreaker class, which I am extremely excited for. Again, thank you so much for tuning in this evening, everybody. We've got a couple of people already in the chat. Thank you very much for jamming in. What we're hoping to do again, we're going to be making our way through Ishgard up till 60 if we can, and then hopefully Stephanie will come in a little bit later. I want to say maybe sometime around like 8 o'clock. Hopefully she can jump on and we can switch over to some Sims 4 because I know you guys would probably prefer to watch her. She's a lot more beautiful than I am. I'd like to think that I am pretty myself. So thank you again for tuning in. We're going to switch over to Final Fantasy XIV now, and let's do this. Alright guys, it is what's becoming now our inside joke really. It's time to wait in the queue. It seems every time I start up the stream for you and I'm going to log on to Final Fantasy XIV, I'm always having to sit in queue. So it's time for us to bond. Let's take a minute. We could talk about how are you? No, I'm joking. Actually, we should probably talk more about the fact that Apple, recently just in the news, they got caught hiring contractors to listen into our Siri conversation. So thankfully for me, I am actually a Samsung user, although I'm sure Bixby is most likely also listening in on our conversations as well. But for our Apple friends, my apologies. Hopefully you haven't really been saying anything inappropriate to Siri because people are apparently listening, although I'm sure my my Amazon products as well are also listening into what I've got and what I've been saying. So I don't think anyone's really safe at this point or another. All right, quite frankly, it's been a little bit, so I do not remember where we left off. All right, so you're gonna have to bear with me. We've got the King Lives, so nope, that's clearly not it. I'm pretty sure that that's relating to King Mog, so we're not going to do that. That's a side quest to unlock. I'm assuming King Mog, the battle extreme level, because we already got the hard level. So this is it. Lord of Levin, and Minfilia wishes to discuss the latest threat to arise in the Black Shroud. What do we got? We've got Allagan Silver Pieces, we've got a Auroral Choker, a Gloam Choker, and the Knock Choker, of which just for the record, I am a little uncomfortable with them being called chokers. We'll go ahead and probably go with the Knock Choker when this is all said and done again as we continue to build up our tank here. Again, tank is most likely where I want to lay my hat. Okay, I thought we were going to have some voice acting here, but now I can actually keep talking. So, a tank is where I want to really lay my hat. It's where I feel most comfortable in. It's where I feel as though I can be the most used to a party with pissing off the least amount of people. So that's my goal, piss off the least amount of people. As long as I can do that, everyone is going to be happy and I can continue to be productive while playing through the game. So one thing that I am very excited for today is 9,000 hours in Photoshop and MS Paint, guys. I really went out of my way to get together an official Cooper cam. So I am very excited to debut that sometime this evening. I may wait until Stephanie is on to actually take that out and show you guys, but I went out of my way, and I'm actually looking right now to see if he's in his bed, which he is, and that's exactly where I have the camera lined up. So I am very excited to show you guys the Cooper Cam. Actually got its own scene, so you don't even have to look at my ugly mug. You can just look at the cuteness that is Cooper. That will be a treat, I'm sure. And I've actually got a mini Cooper Cam that I created as well that I think we're going to utilize to where if we can get enough streamers going, if we can get perhaps maybe some people going ahead and following us, maybe even hosting us, I'd be glad to throw on the Mini Cooper little feature that I have. He's laying, like I said, very peacefully laying in his bed right now. He's taking a nap. So if you guys want to watch a really cute dog, corgi specifically, taking a nap and looking cute doing it, and not look at just my ugly face while I play this, then please go ahead, like I said, watch, follow, go ahead and host us too. I think that'll be like an automatic if I can get a host. I'll definitely pop it up then. Like always, guys, if it's your first time tuning in, thank you so much for doing so. Please, just know that I like to take my time going through the cutscenes, because if you're like me and you're enjoying this for the first time, although technically it's not my first time, but my first time playing through with this character, and you're here to enjoy the game, I don't want to run through this main story very quickly. I don't want to prevent you from being able to read the text, to actually play along, to feel like you're a part of the story. I don't want to take that from you, so I try to make sure I leave enough time for everyone to be able to read and, again, be able to feel like they're a part of the story while I'm playing. So as a side story, I went to Best Buy today, and I actually got like a cheaper camera, so this way we could set up the Cooper Cam for you guys tonight. And when I was there, I made the mistake of actually looking at the video games that were there, and they had the most recent, or at least what they're really trying to push out at Best Buy, and it was Crash Team Racing, which brings me back. And actually we've got an individual. Sorry, I just noticed, Grez. Hey, thank you so much for tuning in. You are awesome. You tune in every single time that we're on, and we greatly appreciate that. We love to have you here. So thank you so much for tuning in again. I noticed that we've got Crash Loves Danger also in here as well. I can't help but just imagine, I was just talking about Crash Team Racing, seeing that being on the shelves over at Best Buy, and again, that's a classic. I definitely enjoyed playing it when it first came out. I am interested on possibly playing the remake that's out, but what I was actually going to say was I saw Fire Emblem Three Houses, and I have not mentioned this before. I know I said that I'm an RPG fan, but I am a big Fire Emblem fan, and seeing that, and it's only for the Switch, it basically means the fact that Fire Emblem Three Houses is now out means that I now have to go out and buy a Nintendo Switch. So my apologies, Stephanie, I'm probably going to have to spend some of the food money for next month towards buying the Switch. So, but it's worth it. I think it'll be worth it. I'd eat ramen for a month if I could go out and get a Switch. I think, would you guys eat ramen for a month if you'd be able to go out and buy the video game system that you... That's a poll that I'm going to put out there eventually. I'm going to say, would you eat ramen for a month if it would allow you to be able to buy a new game system? And would it be worth it? I think that's the more important question. Could you eat only ramen for a month if it would get you the gaming system that you wanted? The answer for me is yes. Absolutely. Alright, so we just got done speaking with Minfilia over I keep wanting to call it the Waking Sands. I know we're not here anymore, but I'm just going to call it that because I really am lazy. I don't want to look to see what it's called anymore. We're going to make our way over to speak with Vorsail Hulot at the Adder's Nest. So again, you know, guys, I really stink at pronouncing the names here in Final Fantasy XIV. If anybody wants to give me phonetic pronunciations in chat, please do so. I'm probably still going to butcher it anyway, but I really stink at saying these names, so don't mind me. I'm going to butcher every name that's in here, except for those that they actually give us the pronunciation during the cutscene. So, again, true to my nature, I'm lazy. I don't want to waste your time spending a half hour traveling on my Magitech armor from one side of Eorzea to the other, so I like to spend the money to fast travel to where I need to be, or teleport, sorry, I'm so used to Fallout terminology, but to teleport where we need to be. We're gonna speak with this guy, the Serpent Commander. We're going to go into the Lord of Levin. Alright, now we are going to speak with Khan E. Senna over at the Lotus Stand. Let's see here. We'll make our way over. Teleport within the Aetheryte in Gridania. Alright, let's make our way over to... I always forget, we'll go to the Conjurer's Guild. That's where he is. Fast traveling a la Skyrim, yes. So that's another game that I do really enjoy playing is the Elder Scrolls series. Awesome series, definitely got a different feel, but without a doubt, definitely something that I'd love to be able to stream for you guys too. And with that in mind, please, anyone and everyone, if you have any suggestions for me, for Stephanie, I know she kind of focuses on The Sims 4, and I know I really enjoy playing Final Fantasy XIV, mostly because I have to pay for this every month, so I like to get my money's worth out of it. But if you guys have any suggestions whatsoever as to some of the games that you would like us to play...
Scions of the Seventh Dawn, on behalf of the people of Gridania, I bid you welcome.
Tell
Your
us over in the
presence
chat.
is of great comfort to us all in these days of uncertainty.
Actually, if I'm pointing this way, I'm pointing the opposite direction. You want me to point that way. If you're going to say something in the chat, it's that way. I'm still learning the ropes, guys.
I summoned you here to share tidings of a most urgent nature. But a short while ago, the great elemental spoke, and his voice was clarion in its intensity. Ramuh is returned unto the forest. Scarce had his words ceased to echo in mine ears when we were visited by an emissary from Little Solace.
Here's our friend from back in the
Our
Little
guest
Solace.
informs us that the Sylphs too have sensed the presence of the Lord of Levin. Though his exact whereabouts remain unknown, we may safely assume that the Primal was summoned within the heart of the Sylphlands.
So I'm actually a big fan of the Sylphs. It's probably the one monster
Unlike
tribe
the other primals you have encountered,
that I want to actually
Lord
take the
Ramuh
time
is no
to
raging
go
avatar
from
of
neutral to
destruction.
being in good standing with
He
them.
is revered as much for his wisdom as his strength, serving as both arbiter and guardian to his children. Given that we and the Sylphs found a way to share the Twelveswood, it is my hope that this sagely immortal will be amenable to reason, and that conflict may be avoided. Blessed as you are with the power of the Echo, you are one of the few among us who may commune with a primal without fear of influence. I would ask, therefore, that you represent us in this most delicate of negotiations.
Is it negotiations if you are attempting to kill the other party? I'm going to say that that doesn't
The
qualify as
Twelve's Wood has
negotiations.
suffered enough.
Sounds very
Upon
one-sided.
this, we and the Sylphs, and I would venture Lord Ramu himself, are in perfect accord. Let us not endanger our shared home by engaging in unnecessary hostilities. Dear friend, I beseech you, safeguard the peace which exists between our peoples.
Although admittedly, in my line of
You
work,
have my thanks.
sometimes it does feel, especially when you're dealing with opposing counsel, that they are trying to
Pray
kill you.
make for little solace, then. A member of the Order of the Twin Adder awaits you there. He will advise you on how to find the Lord of Levin.
Or at least they try to annoy you to death. And that's weapon enough, if they can weaponize
An
just
ill
being really
wind
difficult.
blows through the forest. Yet, it is not only the Twelve's Wood that flinches at its coming. All the lands Vaorzia shiver in dread anticipation. Have care.
Alright, we are now going to speak to the Serpent Lieutenant at Little Solace. Hopefully be able to speak and barter some kind of peace with Ramu without having to do any unnecessary hostilities, as we were just told. And I think what I'd like to do is, we're going to do a little bit of the main quest, like we were saying that we're going to do. But now that I think about it, if one of the goals that I have is to get to level 60, so we can hopefully unlock some of the additional classes that are available, perhaps maybe I should take part in doing some of the roulettes, because I'll be able to get a fair amount of experience and hopefully keep on leveling up our paladin class here. For those who are new to the game, I hate to bore you with my usual dribble. If you have, tuned in on previous episodes, but I am a little bit of a broken record. I do like to say this, that if you are a player of Final Fantasy XIV, I do beg and ask that if you are on a congested server or you're returning and you don't have a lot of ties to the server that you are a part of at the moment, let's say you're like me. I played back in like 2013, 2014. I took a long time hiatus from playing Final Fantasy XIV. I really started playing when it first came out. Now I'm back. I was on a congested server, and if you come back in your guild, I'm using the inappropriate term for that, but let's say you come back in your free company, thank you, that's what I was thinking of, your free company is no longer active, your friends are no longer playing, take the thought, or at least take the initiative to move and transfer your character to what we call a preferred server. On Final Fantasy XIV, preferred servers are those servers that are lacking in active players, and what happens is that Final Fantasy XIV makes it enticing for you to transfer your character there or to start a brand new one by increasing the amount of experience that you gain. So if you are a player who is tuning in, please think about making your way to one of these preferred servers. I personally joined up on Zalera. You can see that in the upper right-hand corner of the screen for my game. Feel free, please, come on, join Zalera, send me a friend request. More than happy to accept it, and more than happy to play together if we can. If you are, like I said, a newer player, really take the time. I know we had a discussion very briefly in terms of, I believe it was 2 streams ago now, I had a conversation where a question was asked on how do I go about leveling my alt classes and jobs as well. So the way I went about handling this, I tried to be as efficient as I possibly can, and what I did is I decided to do my hunting log. So if I'm starting with a brand new class, level 1, I'm going to go to my hunting log, and I'm going to utilize that the best I can. That'll get me to about level 15 or so once everything's all said and done while I'm on a preferred server. It's going to take a lot more than that if you're on a regular server where you don't have that essentially 4 times experience that you would normally have from the preferred server. You end up going ahead and moving up, like I said, about 15 is where I wind up after I'm done doing that first hunting log. I then make my way over to Swift Perch. Swift Perch is over next to Aleport, I believe, and I do the leaves that are over in Swift Perch. If you are someone who hasn't done a lot of leaves and you've got a lot left in your tank to be able to go through before you reach your limit, go ahead and do that. Really, it doesn't take too many. You're able to get your way up to about 16, 17. That's really just a couple of rounds of leaves. And at that point, once you hit 16, 17, start doing your dungeons. If you do your dungeons, a dungeon a day will keep, not the doctor away, but I guess it'll keep the conjurer away, because you'll be healthy, you won't be in any trouble, and essentially you'll be able to get into level 30 pretty quickly, just doing your dungeons over and over and over again. You get good experience doing it that way, and I try to save my roulette for the end of the day, because you're going to get more experience doing the roulette. So I try to go to the class that I'm really hoping to be able to get the most experience in, and doing that with the roulette. That's usually how I go about handling things. I got everyone to level 30 by following that exact strategy, and it did not take long. It really took me about, a couple of weeks worth of playing time in order to get everybody to 30, and that's where you guys start picking up with me when we first started doing the Final Fantasy XIV stream. Was basically right after I got done doing all of that pre-leveling of my initial classes that you get. Alright, so we are going to be doing a sting. Well, not really, but we're going to be using the cleansing water on the suffering soldiers. Whereabouts are you? Over in the Sylphland. So let's jump on our Magitech armor and start our journey to the northern part of the map. Another reason I really like the Magitech armor is because of the music that comes with it. Big fan. Speaking of music, one time or another, I'm gonna have to embarrass myself, and I'm gonna have to film myself watching the intro to this game, because I get so hyped when I watch the intro to Shadowbringers here, and I get the intro going into this game. The music, the story leading into it, it's a very, very good intro, and it just gets me so pumped. It's such a good score, it's such a good piece. See, I'm someone who I've been playing the drums for, I want to say, about 14, 15 years now. I actually, originally, believe it or not, went to college for music education and performance, and I had the plan when growing up to, actually the plan originally was to be a doctor, a lawyer, or to go into manufacturing like my father did growing up. And I fainted the sight of blood, so doctor was out immediately. There was no way I was going to be able to be a doctor with my inability to see blood and not faint. So that forced me to kind of have to pick between being a lawyer and going towards manufacturing, and having parents who were very supportive of my music journey and wanting me to be able to do the best that I can as a musician. They were very supportive. I originally went to school, like I said, for music. And then about 2 years in, I decided that it just wasn't going to be for me. If I had to deal with kids that were as troublesome as I was growing up, I was a little bit of a pain in the butt. That if I had to deal with kids like me, I probably would have lost my mind. So I ended up going into business and then eventually ended up working in manufacturing for a while before making my way back to school, where I got my Juris Doctor and my MBA. Where is our hostile sylph here? I think I got enough time. Should not be an issue. Alright, we're gonna have to re-up on the transparency. Would help if I took that off the screen too. So like I said, guys, music is a big part of my life. Like I said, I've been playing the drums for 14, 15 years. Originally, had gone to school for music education and performance, and when I hear the jam for the intro to this game, I get super pumped. So I'm gonna eventually make a fool of myself, and you'll get to see me looking like an idiot, jamming out. Absolute head-knocking, bobbing, rocking, and I will be enjoying myself. No shame, though. Alright, Scattered Scions is our next quest, and we've got our teary-eyed private who's ready to explain the fate of my fellow scions. So what happened to them? We don't know. Hopefully we're going to find out. We're going to continue, hopefully getting the knocked line of equipment to improve our tank. Alright, we are going to search for Papalimo, again, butchering that name, over at the Gold Leaf dais. Still want to fight? Come on. I'm still within your range. I didn't want to have to kill him, but I have to. Papalimo apparently thinks that Ramu's nowhere to be found. However, we are loyal to our job and we will see it through. We'll continue to try and take measurements if we can. Kind of like the mail. Rain or shine, no matter how much we have to walk, we have a duty to complete, and we will do so. No matter how much our feet hurt. I'm looking at you, Papalimo, complaining about his feet and back. Let's see. Alright, so apparently I actually had to take a second to see whether or not if that was what I needed to do. I'm like, we're going to use the scale bombs on Papalimo and Ida? Oh, that would explain why. Look at me getting fooled by the game. You would think that the other one, seeing me use the bomb on that one, would kind of be like, hey, we should team up and fight together, but I'm just gonna watch you slaughter my friend until you eventually use it on me too. We can go back to Maxio. Perhaps there may be more of these evil sylphs nearby. We're going to continue searching for the scions. Let's see. We're going to make our way over to the Hanging Barbs. Pretty sure that sounds like a band name, by the way, the Hanging Barbs. Alright, Grez has a question in the chat. What advice would you have for a new Final Fantasy XIV player? Well, Grez, I'm gonna sound really corny, and my apologies if it's... I promise I'll give you a better answer than this one, but I really think that the best piece of advice that I can give you is to have fun. Don't think too much about people who are really far along into the game. Don't think too much about feeling like you've fallen behind or that you're not going to be able to enjoy the game as much as other people because you're new. A lot of the players that are here have been here for a while. They are well established. They have all high-ranking characters and jobs and classes, and you're gonna feel kind of left out. And even during like the beginning parts of the story, as you're trying to level up your new character, you're gonna feel that gap because you're gonna be waiting, unfortunately, unless you're on a really populated server, you're gonna be waiting to fill in for the newbie dungeons. You're gonna be waiting for other classes to fill out your half party to get there. So you're gonna feel it when you first start, but if you put that aside and you try not to think about the comparison between you and players who are well established, and you just really focus on having a good time, you focus on finding a class that works for you, I really suggest that you take the time when you first start to think about, you know, what exactly you want to do in the game. Are you someone who really enjoys crafting things? Do you want to be someone who, takes part in your gathering in the game, because you have a couple of different items in here, or a couple of different things that you can do. So I'll take this as a minute to bring up the Disciple of the Hand and Disciple of the Land. As you can see, I am yet to level any of this, right? But that's because it doesn't fit with a lot of the things that I enjoy doing. I like taking part in the main quest. I like battling. That's why I focused on all of Disciples of Magic and Disciples of War. That's where I focused on. You can definitely see I put the time on that. But if you're somebody who loves making equipment, if you're someone who loves going through the land to get minerals and fish and plants, and you enjoy that part of it, that's something that you want to focus on. Don't let the pressures of other people or more well-established players hinder your ability to enjoy the game. When it comes to finding a class that works for you, take the time. Do kind of what I did, which is look into the different classes that are there, right? This game is split up between three major categories of classes that you can get. You've got a tank, you've got a healer, and you've got a DPS. Each of those within their own category has very unique features to them. So obviously there's some things that are very similar between the different classes, between Paladin, Warrior, Dark Knight, and Gunbreaker. Your job is to keep everybody alive by getting all of the enmity your way and making sure that you don't have stragglers going and attacking your healer or attacking your DPSs, but the major point stays the same, but there's nice intricacies between all of the different classes that allow you to find something that really fits you. So if you're going to get the best out of your experience in here, try a little bit of each little time that you have in each of the different classes, and find one that really resonates with you. If you find a class that resonates with you, really focus on that one, make that your main, and try to enjoy all of the aspects that the game has to offer to you. So with that in mind, if you find what makes you happy while you're playing the game, if you find a class that works for you, if you want to focus on being a Disciple of the Hand or Disciple of the Land, focus on that. Don't let everything else get in the way, and enjoy your time here. That is the best bit of advice that I have for you in terms of enjoying your time here, because look, at the end of the day, you bought the game, you're paying to play every single month, and you want to make sure that you're enjoying your time while playing. So why do things that make you unhappy? So find the things that make you happy in this game and do it, because it's worth doing. Other than that, I really would suggest I can give you hints and tips when it comes to leveling up your classes, just as I said beforehand, which is, as a new player, take the time to go to the different classes and level them up and find what makes you happy. I really would just say again that if you use your hunting logs, and those hunting logs allow you to be able to level up your character when you first start, that's a great way to really get off the starting gate with a good lead. Alright, we actually found Ida, so that's great. That's good. I was actually thinking that we might have got another Sylph imposter there. So hopefully, Grez, that answered your question. If you're looking for something more in particular, I'm glad to answer that, but that's the best bit of advice that I can have for you. Just let me know if that was sufficient, and if not, my apologies. Alright, so Thancred was an imposter. Makes you wonder whether or not if Ida and Thancred had, like, a moment, and now she feels cheated out of that moment of maybe Thancred asking, like, hey, how's your family doing? Seeming genuinely interested in how she's doing, and then, yeah, right, turned into a sylph. At least that'd be a great excuse for what happened in the Umbral era. At least he could be like, sorry guys, that wasn't me. When I became a bad guy and nearly killed you, that was a sylph. Don't hate. Alright, Alright, let's see. We have some new equipment, so let's see what we got. Alright. 1813 will definitely equip the Knock Choker. What do we got here? The Knock Wristlets, we definitely want that. And how about our rings? What do we got? The Knocked Ring, which can definitely replace the Darklight Band of Striking. And what about... That's the best I got. 14, 13. Alright, we're gonna stick with that for now. That looks good to me. It would help if I could get rid of that screen. So if you guys ever see me look to the left side of the stream, that is me actually looking at the chat so I can keep up with what's being said on there. If you see me looking towards the game, I'm actually looking towards the game. So again, if you see me looking over in this direction, that's me making sure that I'm trying to keep up with you guys. So Gress says that they're currently leveling the Disciple of the Hand jobs to find ones that really resonate. And that's funny wording, by the way, resonate, because obviously when you go around and you tune into the Aetherites, you are resonating with them. So that's a good unintentional pun maybe, but that's a good use there. So, or tuning, I'm sorry, a tuning. But you know what, a tuning, resonating, all the same stuff as far as I'm concerned. You're still awesome. Find the one that works for you, Grez, and really just enjoy and do it, because Disciples of the Hand are a very interesting mechanic of the game. I'm calling it interesting because that's a better word than saying tedious and repetitive. And again, this is coming from someone who enjoys more of the Disciples of War and Disciples of Magic, but when you are doing a Disciple of the Hand class or a Disciple of the Land class, Disciple of the Land I appreciate a little bit more because of the fact that you get to experience Eorzea as a whole. You get to go to different places, you can do the sightseeing log while you're doing it. It's a great feature of the game. Disciples of the Hand I appreciate, but if you're going to get, so for me and my main character that I had before starting Roger Moore here, was I had I think at the time it was level 60 was the highest that I could get to, and I had Blacksmith to level 60, and I think I also had Armor to level 60. But to get them from 1 to 60, it was an absolute mind-numbing experience of going and doing the same things over and over and over again, finding what was good in terms of experience making, really taking advantage of doing or taking advantage of what bonuses that you could get, and kind of just rolling from there. That's essentially how I handled it, but it can be a very again, tedious and repetitive task of leveling up your Disciples of the Hand. So I really just suggest that, especially for a Disciple of the Hand, that you take the time to find one that benefits your class that you're hoping to main. That's another good benefit to that, is that if you find, for example, if you are a Disciple of War enjoyer and you want to be creating weapons that are going to be beneficial to you, I would go ahead and find maybe perhaps the Armorer as being a good item for you, or perhaps even doing the Blacksmith as being a good one for you as well. If you happen to be a Disciple of Magic, then perhaps you're taking the time to look into doing leather working or being a weaver, and that you're going ahead and leveling those. As I suddenly forget how to play the game and can't attack any monsters. So Grez also has a question regarding housekeeping. How do I keep my inventory cleaner. So I was going to say impeccably clean, but my inventory is, my armory chest is far from impeccably clean. I have a lot of work that I still need to do to get back to being in good shape. So let me go ahead and just defeat our floral friend here, and then I'll be glad to bring up my armory and my inventory so I can show you how I keep up with all of the items that you get over the course of playing the game. So let's bring up our inventory, and I'll also bring up my armory chest as well, or apparently I won't. Alright, so what I end up doing is I regularly attempt to flush everything out. So if you do what I did, and I learned this unfortunately the hard way, if you are leveling up all the individual classes and you're getting them 30 so you can take on the jobs that come from those individual classes, you get a lot of equipment. Every time you hit your 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 level mark and you're taking on the next story quest for that particular job, you're getting equipment, you're getting a new weapon, you're getting new stuff. What I decided to do is, essentially, when I get to that 5, 10, 15, 20 mark, I'm getting the most recent weapon, or I'm getting the level weapon that's according to where I'm currently at. And then anything before that, so I guess a good example I can show you right now. The Giant Skull longsword that I have here is no longer of use to me because I now have a better weapon. So I don't need this anymore. So what I'd do is I'd go into my armory chest and I'd return back to inventory, and then I would immediately sort to find out where my highest level items are, and it also sorts it by the class that you have. So if you have multiple weapons for a particular class, so for example I have Steel Claws and I have Howling Talons, which would go to my Pugilist and my Monk class. So for here I would say level 29 and level 26, right? I know that my Monk is, you know, already level 30, so I'm not worried about that. So which one has the best physical damage for me? They're both 17. Okay, well what about auto attack? Is there any difference between auto attack and delay? No. So the 29 and the 24 are essentially the same, so I'm now going to look at the stat bonuses that come with that. Strength 5, Vitality 5. Strength 5, Vitality 5. I've got Skill Speed 6. I've got Direct Hit Rate 6 and Determination plus 3. So with that in mind, I'd almost rather that I go with the Howling Talons because it's going to give me an extra stat in comparison to the Steel Claws. So I'll right-click, return to inventory, sort. What else do I got? I've got my my Samurai's arm, my Rogue's arm. This one I'm holding on to because it is a level 45. I'm not going to put that in my inventory, so I will keep that there. But what I do is I try to get the leveled weapon that is most relevant to where my classes are currently leveled. Anything else that's lower than that or I'm not currently using, I make sure I go out of my way to go into my armory chest, right-click and get rid of that, and put it back into my inventory. I then go into my inventory and also sort. Sorting is your friend, guys. Go ahead and right-click and hit sort. It'll put stuff in a way that allows you to handle them appropriately. It normally puts your healing items first and your EXP boosting items and your food up at the front. Really handy to have so you're able to keep track of where those are. But for when you are trying to get a hold of your armory chest, that's a good feature to have because it's going to take it and put it right to the front of your inventory so you can have that ready to sell. And again, that is very important for when you're trying to do the housekeeping measures. So Grez, I hope that answers your question. I know it looks like I have it uncluttered, but if you actually were to look at my hats and look at my my body armor and so on and so forth, they are in pretty bad shape. So at the sake of possibly being boring, my apologies. I will actually go ahead and do exactly what I just told you. So I sorted it so this way everything is now by class. or at least by Disciple of War, Disciple of Magic, and all class. Everything's going to be, you know, sorted in a particular way. Like all headgear is where we're at right now, and it shows here's by item level. So I've got my nameless Hachigane, which is for the samurai. I've got the red hat for red mage. I've got a Disciple of War, woolen bandana, and now I've got my gallant coronet, or coronet. That would help if I didn't botch very simple pronunciation. So you basically look through it and find out and say, okay, well, what do I have in relation to my current classes and what is needed? So for me, I don't technically need the gallant headgear here. I can send that back because I'm currently wearing a better, coronet than what I was wearing beforehand, so I have the Valor. I don't need the gallant. I can actually send that back. That opens up another space. Same thing for when you're dealing with your Disciple of War. Once I got everybody to a particular level, another good tip for you, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention this beforehand, when you are leveling up your classes individually, really go out of your way to try and find Disciple of War tagged equipment and Disciple of Magic equipment as well. So I'm pretty sure if you look around my inventory, I'll show you that I've got Disciple of Magic equipment at very particular levels, and I've got Disciple of War at very particular levels. And I try and do that for level 15, and I try and do that for level 30 as well. The reason why is that a lot of the times your Disciple of Magic and your Disciple of War, so great example, my Plundered Cavalier's hat and my Pirate's bandana, both of those are the level 15 equivalent for the Disciple of War and Disciple of Magic. I try and get these unique items, which you can get through doing dungeons, or more so, they tend to be very cheap because everyone gets them when they're doing the dungeon. So if you're at Seshtasha, if you are doing that level 15, I think, dungeon, maybe 16 dungeon, you're all going to get similar equipment. So everybody and their brother has this type of equipment. So it's flooded in the market. They're pretty cheap. You get yourself your level 15 equipment for your head, your body, your hands, your belt, your legs, and your feet, and you use that between all of your different classes. Don't worry about going out of your way to get unique equipment for your classes at such a low level. Get your basic equipment, get your level 15, get your level 30 for, like I said, both your Disciple of War and your Disciple of Magic, and just utilize that. And I know I don't have it set up on this particular computer. I do actually have it on my laptop of all places, but do gear sets. Gear sets really go a long way, and it makes things a lot easier for you. So you'd go into your gear set, you'd create a new gear set list. For me, I have a Paladin. Right now, I just registered it. Again, all of my gear sets are on my laptop version or client for the game. But do this for each and every class that you have, and it makes it that much easier to switch between them. And if you do set it up in a way to where your level 15 and your level 30 equipments are uniform between all DPSs and tanks, and so this way you don't have to worry about what you're doing, go ahead and just immediately switch the weapon, or go to your gear set and switch it from there. This way there's less back and forth for your equipment. You can easily swing between your individual classes, and it makes that a hell of a lot easier. And it overall, like I said, keeps up with your armory chest, is being able to really keep up with it so it doesn't get crazy and out of hand. So let's see, the reason I've asked, I've already maxed out my chest armory bag. Also, should I be concerned about 100% spellbound gear? Not at all. Unless it's a piece of equipment that you have a real attachment to, and it's something that perhaps you want to hold on to your character just for the purpose of wearing it, and just for the purpose of, just because you think it's cool on your character. That's the only reason you would want to keep it. Other than that, if it's 100% spellbound to your character and you don't want it anymore, just go ahead and sell it. Chances are, you're just going to be able to sell it to an NPC, but at the end of the day, get rid of it, make the space in your inventory, and go on to the next item that you're going to find that maybe you might like even better than the one that you're about to get rid of, so I wouldn't be too worried about that. Hopefully that was helpful to you. Again, more than happy to share the knowledge and help if I can. Alright, so we just used it on 3 of our friends at once, so Ishtola is probably not, yep, she's not happy. Ida, obviously as we know, is still okay. This one's friends will be very angry. But are you, Thancred? So, we've got Grez asking whether or not if you should be worried about materia and melding yet. I really wouldn't be worried about that. You really only want to be really focused on materia and melding, really just materia, melding obviously being what goes into the materia, but I really wouldn't worry about that until you're closer towards the end game. My character, brand new, I'm killing everything easy. There's no gap, and I mean there is a big gap between where, you know, I am and where the main story quest is. So to fill that gap, if I was behind the 8 ball in this case and I needed to make up for it, then materia may come in to make a difference. But when you're doing the main story quest, it's done in such a way to where the progression matches with you or you're well above it, and you don't really have to worry about that. I would start to worry about materia when you're reaching endgame, when you're trying to be, you know, competitive in dungeons and instances and primal battles, and you're doing extreme primal battles and every little bit counts. That is where you really need to start worrying about your materia, because, you know, if you're doing an extreme primal and you're a paladin or you're, you know, a tank, and every little bit of health is going to matter to you. If you're a DPS, every little bit of damage is going to matter to you, and it allows you to be able to stay competitive. Speaking of being competitive, if you're someone who really enjoys player versus player features, then materia is another good way to separate you from your counterparts, because if everybody is max level and everybody is the same, you know, kind of in a situation, and you've got 2 DPSs fighting one another, you know, the very well difference might be who has the higher damage output. And that's where materia is going to be able to make a difference. So, and really, again, that's only if you're someone who wants to be extremely competitive in the game. As you can probably already tell from my character, I don't have any materia at the moment, and I have no worry or interest with this guy right now to be very competitive. I want to obviously help the parties that I'm in, and I want to make sure that I'm not a hindrance to the dungeons and instances and primal battles that I take part in. I definitely don't want to leave people hanging and disappoint people. but at the same time of it, I am in no rush to be the best player on the server. Everybody trying to step in on me, completing that little area. Put this one away, hopefully get the heck out of here. Alright, let's see, we've got Even Star and we've got Daystar. Mind and Intelligence. I think I was saying that I was trying to make sure that I was going to benefit my healing class as a secondary list of equipment. Levin and Impression. The puns are strong with this one. Papalaimo believes he has determined the site upon which the primal Ramu was summoned. My measurements indicate a large ethereal disturbance to the southeast. I think it's time to go do those negotiations that they talked about beforehand.
Betrays thee, servant of hiding. Thou art the bringer of light, bane of Ifrit, Titan, Garuda, and Leviathan. I am Ramu, guardian of the children of the forest. Thou tramplest upon sacred soil, bringer of light. By what right doth man intrude in this sanctuary of the sylphs? The Gridanians proffer peace? Their words are born of delusion, thine offer an insult. Thou speakest of harmony, yet carest naught for my children's desires. They did but wish to dwell beneath these boughs in solitude. Yet even that was too much to ask of man. Thus did they turn to me for succor. The sentence I pronounce upon thy kind is just. Redanian or Garlean, it matters not. The good intent of one excuseth not the misdeeds of the other.
If you guys can't tell, I'm attempting to grow my beard out like Ramu, and I'm failing miserably.
Thy conflicts have brought naught but anguish and misery unto the forest. All blame doth lie with the darkness that resideth in the breast of man.
I think if you give me another 200 years, I might be able to match that, but there's no way I'll be able to do the 2 strings that go out. Maybe perhaps get like a nice little bit here. That is one serious beard. You're right. It is a crazy beard. And Grez, that's what I am.
Whence sprung
I'm a
this
casual player.
calamitous seed?
Enjoy it.
In the beginning, no such duality existed. Were light and dark given form when man was born?
Like I said, this is a game that you're spending, your hard-earned money on, and if you're going to be paying Square Enix every month to play the game, enjoy it. And that doesn't matter if you're
not
a
least
casual
why
player.
strife and sorrow follow ever in thy wake. Thou canst not deny the urgings of thine own nature.
It doesn't matter if you're a hardcore player. Whatever motivates you to stay interested in the game, whatever motivates you to really find enjoyment in the game, do that and follow
Knowing
it.
that thy mere presence here portendeth tragedy, wilt thou persist in this pretense of peacemaking? Thou bearest the crystal which I bestowed upon thy wayward charges. That they should entrust so precious a gift to thee. Thou standest apart from thy kin. Thou art the bringer of light, aye. But there is something more in thee. Very well. I shall consider thy proposal. Shouldst thou survive my trial. If thou wouldst champion the cause of harmony, I must have proof that thou art fit to play the role. Wither mine ire, and prove to me thereby that thou hast strength enough to stay the darkness which threateneth to consume thee. Yet if thou shouldst be found wanting, know that all men shall perish in the storm of my judgment.
Okay, Raiden. You and your thunder can go take a seat.
Come to me, bringer of light. I shall await thee on the field of battle.
So I think what we're going to do, guys, is we are going to go after Ramu here, and then
it is rare indeed to find you so far from a tome.
once we're done doing this, I will do my roulette so I can get that extra experience.
The Lord of Levin himself. Never till this day had I looked upon his visage, save in painted renderings made faint by time. Ever shall this scene remain etched in my mind's eye. Beg pardon, my lady. I must beg thine aid on a point of research. If thou art resolved to face Lord Ramu, I would ask thy leave to observe the event.
Alright, we now have access to the striking tree hard. It's one of my favorite things to do now. We are going to sit and wait for us to get a party. Hopefully this doesn't take too long. Alright, so now that we got some time, I guess this is a good opportunity to say thank you very much for tuning in, everyone that is here. It is a pleasure to have you. As always, I like to remind you guys that this is all about fun. I'm here to have a good time. When you work a 9 to 5, when you've got a career that you really focus on, taking time to do something for yourself, something that you really enjoy doing, is extremely important, especially to prevent yourself from getting burnt out. And for me, video games has always been that, I guess you could say, pathway to keeping my inner zen, and to be able to share it with you guys is an absolute pleasure. So thank you very much for tuning in. It really is, again, my pleasure to be able to do this with you. Now, if you're not happy with Final Fantasy XIV and you want to see something else getting played, by all means, go ahead and say that over in the chat. Let me know, and I'm more than happy. And again, I pointed in the wrong direction. I'm looking that way at the chat, but the chat's over that way, so I should be pointing over in that direction. But again, guys, if you want to see a particular game, let me know. I'm very happy to continue my Let's Play Final Fantasy XIV series as we continue to document the main quest for our battle on Eorzea. But again, I am really open to playing a variety of different games that meet and tickle your fancy. With that said, I know, again, at 8 o'clock I'm hoping to switch over with Stephanie so she can take over and play a little Sims 4 for you guys. I am excited for what is going to come there. I know Stephanie was hustling. She was absolutely hustling in the last episode. She went and she was able to make some of that dough. She was out there, not being a socialite, but she was meeting new people, and she is progressing her character very nicely. I personally, I'm thinking of taking up and playing some Sims 4 on the side myself. It's been a while since I played it, but I think what would be really funny is if as an attorney, that I made a very evil character. So for somebody who, you know, is always with the law and following the laws and making sure that I am really in tune with that and always trying to be a law-abiding citizen, that if I made a very evil character that did burglaries, I think that that would just be a funny and ironic storyline for me to take part in. I think that people may find that you know, interesting. So maybe perhaps I'll take on and do some Sims 4 on the side. Also really willing to take on some Fallout, also Gwent as well, and really any RPG, more than happy to do. Again, any comments that you may have or any suggestions that you may have, please feel free to throw that over in the chat. We're waiting on 2 healers and 1 tank. So that's one thing that you're going to find out as a Final Fantasy XIV player, is there's so many more classes that are DPS. So if I were to bring up the list of classes, right, there's a total of 11 DPSs, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Sorry, 10 that you can play in the dungeons. Blue Mage is not, I believe, it's not a class that you can take on into your dungeons, your instances, your primals. That's I guess a PvE, or at least a solo. Sorry, solo is what I was thinking of, a solo class. So there's 10 DPS classes. They clearly outnumber the amount of tanks and healers that are out there. You've only got 3 healers, guys. You've got 4 tank classes, so you end up getting your DPS slots filling in a lot quicker, but it also means that there's more people in the queue for the DPS class, so you'll have a longer wait if you are a DPS class. So keep that in mind. If you are looking to progress your story, it may actually be quicker if you were a healer or if you were a tank than it is to be a DPS, because for us, we're waiting 4 minutes and 40 seconds now. The average wait time is usually less than 5 minutes. Sometimes it's true to its number and word, sometimes it's not. So again, if you want to progress through the storyline, humble suggestion, take on a tank or a healer. You'll be able to fill the need a lot quicker, and you'll get through the dungeons a little bit quicker. If you're a DPS, it might take a little bit longer, so keep that in mind, guys. Hopefully we fill that pretty quickly. and we can continue our journey here on the main quest. With downtime like this, you know what I think would be a good thing to do is if I were to find Cooper. He's escaped, I think. I think he escaped. I don't know if he's in the room anymore. Oh no, he's here. Alright, he's actually leaving as we speak. But I think during downtime like this, I think it would be good if I were to get him to go onto his bed and to do a little bit of the Cooper cam. I think that's something that that would be really cute to do. Let's see what we can do here. I think he's there. Alright, we got him on there. So let's go ahead and punch that on. Alright. I think we're good. Welcome to the Cooper cam, everybody. We've got Cooper being a very good boy over on his bed. I'm really happy to introduce this to you guys tonight. Cooper is an absolute ham. He loves to take the spotlight, and one of his favorite things are donuts, whether if it's an old-fashioned donut that he can eat or if it's a pink frosted toy donut, which is his favorite toy. He absolutely enjoys a good donut. So for the Cooper cam, I figured let's put some donuts on there for him to enjoy as he's got his bone and he's laying down being a very good boy. So I think what we'll do is leave that for your enjoyment while we wait for our party to fill. I figured there's no better way to blow some extra time than by looking at a good boy. Not me, the dog. Although Stephanie, who has joined us now, says that you're kind of a good guy, I guess. A little bit here and there. Uh-oh. Come on, Kooks. All right. Come on, lay down. All right, so we've got a question in the chat. We've got Grez asking, what is a daily roulette and should I take advantage of it? And the answer is absolutely you should take advantage of it. So, for example, if I were to go to the duty, and if I were to go to the duty finder, and you were to make your way over to all of the different icons that are under your level and class and your role, you've got your duty roulette, you've got your dungeons, you've got your guild heist, all of these different things that are available for you. If you go to your duty roulette, you'll see here that it says duty roulette, and you've got your different roulettes that you can go take a part in. And really, roulette just basically means is that out of all of the dungeons that you currently have unlocked, that you'll be able to get a randomized dungeon that you'll be thrown into a party with, and you get increased gil and you get increased experience for taking part in that duty roulette. So for me, like I said, I like to save this for the end of my day when I'm playing and I'm trying to focus on leveling the class that I'm trying to main, or I really want to give the largest chunk of experience to. So you've got a few different roulettes that you can take part in. So for me, you've got level 50, 60, 70 dungeons. And it says exactly what it says there. A level 50, 60, 70 dungeon will be selected at random from among those you have unlocked. Successful completion will earn you far greater rewards. You've got leveling, which is a random dungeon or trial will be selected. Trials will go exactly as it sounds through the different trials that you have right now. You've got your main scenario quests and dungeons that go through there. And then you've also got guild heists that you can do as well. Do your duty roulettes, you have that increased experience. It really goes a long way, guys, for you to be able to help level up your character for doing that. So, again, take that into consideration when you're attempting to find a way to really increase your character's level. And with that said, my apologies, guys. This is why I'm making a good argument every time I'm streaming to say that if you're not a part of a free company that you're really active in, you don't have any real ties to a particular server, please make your way over to a less populated server. Do a transfer of your character. Log on to MogStation, and it's a free service. It's not going to cost you any money. Make your way over to a server like Zalera that is in dire need of new characters. That's why I'm here. I'm trying to support the community. I'm trying to get some new characters and some fresh blood into Zalera, so this way people don't have to wait a heck of a long time while they're trying to progress through the main story. So please, by all means, come and join us. Come and join me over on Zalera, and you too won't have to wait 11 minutes and 10 seconds to get a party in order to continue the main story dungeon. So, at least you're keeping me company. So thank you for keeping me company. And we've also got Cooper, and as we say that, we're ready to actually do the Striking Tree hard. So hopefully that is of help to you, Grez, and that you're able to take part in your roulette dungeons to help level up your characters. Alright, so we are actually going to take away the Cooper cam so we can focus on the dungeon. I figured that was a good little bit of a tease. Now you get to see what the Cooper cam has in store, and I'm sure Cooper, who is actually more interested in probably going to grab a bite to eat now that Stephanie is here, than actually staying in bed and trying to be a good model for the camera. Alright, so what you're going to find a lot of times too is that, especially in a server like this, to where there's a long wait before you actually get into the dungeon instance or primal battle, people go AFK. Right, there's a 12, 13 minute wait between the time that you are, waiting to get into the dungeon. Sometimes people go AFK, and when that happens, unfortunately, they're not there at their computer when it's go time. And thankfully for us, it's a very quick process. It's, the whole party stays together, but that one person doesn't join, so they immediately throw in the next person in queue, they get everybody together, and it's a quick transition. You're not stuck there waiting for another 11 minutes for a new party to form, so it's usually a lot better than the initial 11-minute wait that we just had. So, alright, we've got the other tank going right to town, so I'm going to assume that this is not their first rodeo, so that means I'm going to take what we call the secondary tank position. Normally with every boss that we have, guys, when you've got a full party like this that consists of 2 tanks and 2 healers and 4 DPSs, normally what that means is that you've got a main tank and then you've got a secondary tank. Your main tank, their job responsibility for the most part is to handle the big bad. As a secondary tank, your responsibility is to handle any adds that may come in so they don't go and attack your fellow... Sorry, my apologies. Want to make sure that I'm not briefing anybody with that thunder attack. So what happens in Ramu, guys, is that he's going to be putting thunder spells on people that will go off after a particular timer, and you want to try your best to spread out that damage and not include or get some of your fellow characters into those circles that are appearing. Like, for example, Morningstar just had one on him, and because I'm silly and didn't bother getting out of the way, I ended up suffering damage. So now here's what we're talking about, right? When you've got ads that come in, you want to try your best to take them away, so this way they're not going to be going after our friends here. So again, secondary tank really just wants to focus on taking care of ads that are on the table. And as you can see, we've got someone in the chat saying, you know, hey guys, we need to take care of the ads. Before we can go back to doing wrong. Reason why is normally anytime you are on a primal dungeon and ads show up, that usually means that you need to remove those ads before a certain time period. Otherwise, everybody will die. That tends to be a continuing theme. So again, you can see I make my way over to kill the ad, and unfortunately the party was not in that same mindset, so we also need to make sure that people are keeping an eye on who has that thunder circle around them, because if Dectris, Frederick, and myself all have that thunder circle around us, and then we all proceed to have that thunder attack go off at the same time, that's going to be devastating to all of us, because we're all going to receive that damage, and it's all going to be shared, and it's not going to be good. So a good tank, like I said, guys, in a primal battle like this is going to... Sometimes you gotta swallow your pride, right? You might want to be the first tank on a dungeon or a primal, and you gotta request it. So when the battle starts, you need to, ask. You need to go to the party and say, hey, can I be primary tank? Can I be the first tank? And see if the other tank that's with you in the party is okay with that. If you don't want to have that discussion, then that's perfectly fine too. You can just try and jump in like I think it was Frederick, who the tank was here, the Dark Knight that was here. just jump in. Just go ahead and take the boss and go for it. Leave the other tank to figure it out themselves. If they're like me and they just want to have
thy
fun,
measure, bringer of light.
then they'll just take the secondary role like I did. So going after the ads and making sure that they're not killing the rest of our party members.
And I judge thee a worthy champion. The task of excising the sin that hath taken root in man's heart is thine. Shrink not from employing thy strength in service to the forest and the wider realm beyond. Like hungering shadows do the enemies of harmony gather, and meekness will but feed them. If man is to be delivered from the dark, it shall be by thy guiding light alone. Stray not from the path, for if thou dost, thy people shall be truly lost.
We'll stick on that path, at least until we get to the Shadowbringer
Thou
expansion.
hast slain
And then
the
we
Lord
get to
of
go
Levin.
dark.
A regrettable act, but a necessary one. In witnessing thy struggle, a truth hath been revealed unto me. If I mistake not, it may yet prove a chink in the eternal armor of the Ascians. But let us conclude our present business. I shall expound upon my findings at the Rising Stones anon.
That's right. Rising Stones, because it was the Rising Sands over near Horizon, and over in Mordana it's the Rising Stones. I always seem to forget that. I know I was lost for words before, trying to remember what it was. So we're going to make our way over to Little Solace, and how much of a journey does that look like? You know what? I am going to be lazy, and I am going to teleport to the Hawthorne Hut, and then make my way there. Alright, jump on the Magitech armor. Alright, let's speak to the Serpent Lieutenant. I love when you do certain, actions. So if you are speaking to one of the characters, and obviously your character doesn't have a voice, I was very surprised, in a good way, when they added the option for you to be able to pick a dialogue choice, which that didn't used to be there. So I was happy to be able to kind of give your own unique response to certain points of the main story. So I like that, but you can't help but just laugh to where you just get like a good, 5 seconds of the following. As you explain to the character of what you're doing in that very boxy, robotic kind of movement, or if you are attempting to search for something, and you click on something in order to search a box or something, you just get the... Not the vibration. We don't need the vibration. Apparently of my telephone. That's the thing, guys, is that when you are an attorney, you tend to always be on the clock. So thankfully, Stephanie's here to play receptionist, and she will take that phone call. And that's actually the reason why I wasn't able to join you guys on Wednesday. I had a client, so I try and do estate planning, so I help individuals with getting everything in order. I hate to jokingly say this, before the inevitable, right? So I tend to sometimes deal with clients that are unable to make it to the office due to older age, so I try to make my way to their homes to give them access to essentially legal services that they otherwise wouldn't be able to have access to. So on Wednesday I actually was with a husband and wife, over 40 years of marriage, and they were looking towards making sure that their kids were going to be in a good position. God forbid if anything were to happen to them. They were both in their early 90s. It would be nice if I could actually select the Aetheryte and go into the Ethernet. So sometimes work and the call of work will take me away from being able to stream. Thankfully, Stephanie's my partner in crime, or at least partner in justice if she's helping me at the office, and she's very happy to help me out because I'm a one-man show. So you're looking at the attorney, the paralegal, the secretary. You're looking at the janitor. You're looking at everything, the accountant for my business. So even during times like this where I happen to be winding down at the end of the day, if somebody calls up, I have to be available. So my apologies if I do have to step out.
You are returned to us, dear friend, and none the worse for bearing the heavy burden which I did press upon you. Most glad am I. I am informed that your efforts to negotiate a peace with Lord Ramuh ended in conflict. Pray tell me, what befell? Ramuh made trial of you? I fear there is truth to his claim. It is the darkness within us that attracts the darkness without. It cannot be denied that misfortune follows man. For evidence, one need only look to the conflict brewing in Cartano, or to the rising flood of refugees. Our shared struggle against the Empire should have served to seal our union. Yet the ties which bind the Alliance strain under the weight of gross self-interest. As the scars of the calamity begin to fade, so too does our sense of common purpose. Yet now is scarce the time to forget our shared responsibility. If this new-sprung realm is to survive beyond its infancy, it must needs be nurtured by all. Eorzea must be as one, yet I fear that dream is still far off. On behalf of the people of Gridania and the elementals both, I thank you for all that you and your fellow scions have done. Full oft have I been compelled to look to you for aid of late, and offered all too little in return. As leader of this nation, I shall endeavor to prove a more worthy ally to your cause henceforth.
So, will you take our refugees, or are you gonna pull an Ulda and a Limsa Laminsa and say,
Lord
sorry,
Ramuh
we
has
can't do
departed,
that?
yet the keening of this ill wind grows no less insistent. Voices of the forest, pray speak and I shall listen. What unseen evil begets this unease in my heart?
Alright, let's go and speak to Papa Limo, and we are going to progress a little bit further. Actually, bear with me 1 second. 8 o'clock? Does that sound good? Yeah. Dude, Gotcha. All right, good. So that's just me confirming with Stephanie that that at 8 o'clock that she's going to step in and she's gonna play some Sims 4 with you guys. Like I said, I'm really excited about that. Anytime Stephanie is on, I like to watch. In fact, anytime Stephanie likes to do anything, I like to watch. That's kind of why I picked her as my human. So. Yes, I always forget. Every time I do the teleport, I want to hit no because I'm immediately trying to be like, no, I don't want to use my, my ticket. I want to hold on to it, and then I end up completely messing up. So we are back in Mordona. We're going to make our way over to the Rising Stones to speak with Minfilia. I think considering the time restraint that I have being 19 minutes until I'm going to switch out with Stephanie to play some Sims 4. I think what I'll end up doing is I will turn this mission in, and then Grez, since we were talking about the daily roulette, I think I'll jump on the daily roulette so you can see what that's like. Alright, let's turn this one in to Minfilia. I've actually got Cooper next to me right now. You can probably hear his claws as he pitter-patters along the hardwood floor.
If everyone is ready, let us begin. Urianger, the floor is yours.
I have to say, that's probably my my favorite name of any character. Urianger.
As all here assembled now know, in its final hours as our Order's headquarters, the Waking Sands did play host to a most unexpected visitor. I speak of the Ascian clad in white, Elidibus. Unwelcome though his presence was, his words that day did serve to confirm a truth long suspected, that the Ascians are eternal beings, to whom physical destruction is as a temporary inconvenience.
So I really think it was a missed opportunity by Square Enix to not have the voice actor of Urianger to be a narrator. I would love if they had some kind of every time you started a new chapter per se of the main story quest, if you had Urianger's voice to be able to be, and then the Warrior of Light made his way to defeat Leviathan. That would have been such a cool, awesome little
In the
extra
intervening
bit to it.
time, Urianger and I have striven to discover a means by which the Ascians might more permanently be slain.
And 'tis my belief that we have found the thread that will allow us to unravel the twisted skein of their existence. In the moments prior to Leviathan's most recent manifestation, the Sahagin elder who summoned him was observed to undergo some manner of ascension. The etheric readings taken by Y'shtola at the time of this transfiguration have proven most enlightening.
The disruption to the flow of ether was sudden and dramatic. So tangible was the agitation, I scarce had need of my goggles.
The significance of Y'shtola's readings might better be understood in the context of mine own, taken at the instant of the Lord of Levin's demise. Unlike the Primal, the Sahagin was not subject to etheric dissipation.
Before discussing our new discoveries, it may benefit us all to recall what we know of etheric behavior. Let us begin at what some might call the end. When we who dwell in the material realm die, our spirits dissolve into the flow of ether and are returned to the ethereal realm. In turn, the restless energy which suffuses that plane streams back into our world, giving rise to new life.
'Tis as the heavens did decree, the way of all mortal souls. Twixt this world and the next do the ethereal currents swirl, bearing the very essence of life. Thus doth the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth continue unabated.
Primals behave somewhat differently. In order to manifest and then maintain a physical presence in this realm, they must consume vast quantities of ether, most often in the form of crystals. Though they may seem to live, their flesh is but ether given shape.
Can't help but enjoy the Ether 101 that Minfilia and Yurianger is giving us at the moment.
Thus, a defeated primal leaves behind no broken corpse. Rather, the essence of its form seeps back into the land whence it came, and the energy of its shattered spirit is called back to the ethereal realm.
And there it waiteth, till next the prayers of the faithful do draw it forth from the sea of ether, to take their offering of crystals and make for itself a new body.
Which brings us on to the third group, the so-called immortals. They exist in a manner all their own.
Quite. Even as the Sahagin Elder fell to the Admiral's musket shot, I witnessed the release of an ethereal cloud, which immediately took possession of a nearby minion.
A soul that dissipateth not upon the death of the flesh.
The secret of life everlasting, and in the claws of a Sahagin no less. But I wonder, what would happen to one of these obstinate spirits, should there be no suitable host for it to claim?
If mortal death entails a return to the ethereal realm, it seems doubtful that the soul of an immortal would venture there.
Nay, it merely withdraweth a distance, unto the shore of the ethereal sea, perchance, but no further.
Yes, it exists in neither this realm nor the next, abiding instead in the space that lies between them. The Ascians took control of Thancred by means of a crystal of darkness, an artifact which, if our theories are correct, serves as a gateway to the place I have just described.
I was hoping people had forgotten about that.
No, we did not, Thancred. You were the bad guy.
I am sorry, my friend.
For a mercy, the weary road of
Is it
our
Billie
research
Eilish?
hath brought us unto an
Okay,
answer.
that's we got to get that going whenever Thancred's on the stream.
The Sahagin ascended to an immortal state, but he did not possess a crystal of darkness through which to flee this realm. Thus was he consumed by Leviathan.
So if we remove the crystal,
If we could entrap the spirits of defeated Ascians in like manner, and thereby deny them resurrection,
therein lieth the path to victory. Thou art most perceptive, my lady. Only when we have trapped the bodiless soul within an ethereal prison can we hope to defeat its unnatural constancy. Thus might even an eternal paragon be consigned to oblivion.
These feats are, of course, far easier said than done. At present, we lack a viable means to entrap and extinguish an Ascian soul. Yet, I believe it to be possible. The pieces of the puzzle lie before us. We have but to put them together.
I will depart at once to convene with the sages of Sharlayan. Together shall we divine the steps by which our goals may be achieved.
I have the utmost faith in you, Archon.
you can hear the pitter-patter.
Beg pardon, antecedent, but I would raise one final matter. Even now, a Sharlayan survey party seeketh to ascertain the fate of the students of Baldessian. Their findings shall soon be known to us. Though you harbor feelings of dread, I bid you surrender not to sorrow, but abide instead in hopeful prayer.
I shall, Archon. Thank you.
In what is probably one of the longer cutscenes that we've had in a long time, guys, we now get to go see what the Ascians are up to at the moment. This kind of feels a little Kingdom Heartish to me, with all the, well, I don't want to call them doors, but with all the different individuals all kind of meeting in a very council kind of setting. Here's Elidibus, the envoy. La Habrea. So La Habrea is actually, for those who aren't keeping up with the story or are new to the background, when you do the main quest, La Habrea was the final boss of the 7th Umbral era storyline before we get into the 7th Astral era, which is where we're in at the moment. And La Habrea is considered to be a little bit of a rogue. He's not in step with all of the other Ascians, and really what ends up happening is that he kind of went off and branched out on his own, or at least that's what you're told by the Ascian in white, is that he kind of branched out on his own. So a hard happolet to break. Minfilia has some correspondence she wishes to share with you, and actually we were just speaking about materia, and here we are. They're starting to kind of really start to introduce you into materia here by giving you some to deal with. We're going to accept this, but I actually think what we're going to do is we're going to jump into doing our daily roulette, because Grez in the chat had asked about the daily roulette, so I want to give them a chance to see it in person, because they're a new player and they're hoping to learn a little bit more about how to effectively level their character. So just as a recap for those who are just turning in, thank you very much for tuning in first and foremost. It is greatly appreciated. Honestly, again, it is my joy to be here after a long day. I like to wind down by playing some of my favorite games, and Final Fantasy XIV is one of those. So for me, really, I try to make it as effective as I possibly can. For us, we're doing the main story quest, but I do want to get my character to level 60. So we're going to jump on, and we are going to do our roulette, because that is, like I said, you really want to try and focus on doing your dungeons in order to increase your character's level. Main story quest is kind of item number one in my eyes. You're going to get the most bang for your buck in terms of experience by doing your main story quest. Second to that is going to be repeating your dungeons. And if you have the option to be able to do your roulette, I would suggest you save that for the class that you really want to make sure gets the most experience for that day, that you want to make sure they get the largest chunk to increase their level. So for me, the most important for me right now is getting the Paladin to 60, so we can continue moving forward with acquiring new classes. Alright, we've wondered kind of, at least for the last couple of streams, where Alphanod is, so He makes his way back after his troubles in Ul'dah. We had our rebellion, if you remember from 2 streams ago when I was last with you guys. We still haven't technically handled the rebellion over in Ul'dah yet, but that's kind of how the story goes sometimes. You can't be in every place at once, and you kind of go where your services are needed. So we're able to squash at least the forefront of the rebellion, but we did not actually get through to the head of that rebellion, who I forget. I think Teleji is the individual who's at the helm of the rebellion. He's attempting to essentially use money to use the rebellion to make more of a profit opportunity for him. We haven't fully hashed that out yet. The group of the 7 Scions, they don't know that yet, that it's Teleji who's the one at the helm of that, or at least I don't think so. As I'm sure Stephanie would tell you, I don't exactly have the best memory, so if we've already tackled that, you can let me know. Alright, so as I just said, per promise, we're going to go to our duty finder, and we are going to do a duty roulette so we can show Grez how to go about doing it. Like I said, if you get done with your day and you've done your leveling, you've done your dungeons, and you want to end your day on a high note, really find a duty roulette, and you'll get the best out of it that you can. So they tend to be quicker in terms of fulfilling a party as well, because a lot of people are registering for the duty. It really just depends on what class you are, like we talked about beforehand, and how many people are waiting in line. So you'll see right there that it does say that you're waiting for a match, and it does say the average wait time is 13 minutes, but it shows the role waiting list number. If you're a DPS, expect to wait that amount of time. If you are a tank or if you are a healer, expect to wait significantly less. So really, again, if you're doing your main story progression, I always suggest that you focus on being either a tank or a healer, because you'll get through it faster and quicker. You won't have to wait all that time for a party to fill up. However, if you're doing your dungeons and you're doing your roulettes, my apologies, you're going to want to focus on whatever class you want to focus on, and if that's a DPS, then my apologies. So we're waiting for the information to be retrieved here, and you're going to find, and just for everybody's information here, over on the right-hand side of the screen, as my finger goes out of the camera's reach, you can see over next to the duty finder, it says duty roulette, level 50, 60, 70 dungeons, waiting for a match, role waiting list number, retrieving information. I'm now circling that, or at least I thought I was circling that with my mouse here, and now it seems to be I'm okay now. But it shows you how much time has elapsed, what your average wait time is. It will eventually retrieve what my role waiting list number is. So I'm number 4. It means I've got 3 people in front of me at the moment. So 3 parties will make their way out, and I will eventually be considered for the next position that's open, unless of course it's going to be a full party, in which case 2 tanks will be taken for every duty roulette, so that means I would be a part of the second party to be launched. So it all depends whether if you're in a half or a full party as to how quickly you'll be removed. So I'm assuming that we're going to be taking part in a full party because we're immediately up to role waiting list number 1. So like I said, average waiting time is going to be 13 minutes. That's going to take into account if you're a DPS as well. So we're a tank, we're on the next one going out. So thankfully it should be a little bit quicker than that. I am going to run a little bit over 8 o'clock. I think what I'll do is we were thinking about doing like a 5-minute break, but I think what we'll do is I'll get Stephanie set up since I'm eating into that 5-minute break time. Oh, look at that. We ended up going into a half party after all, which is why I was number 1. So hopefully that DPS that we're waiting for joins us and I don't have to re-roll, although that should be quick. Let's see what we got. We got Cooper actually laying with Stephanie at the moment, over in Cooper's bed. Let's wait for that, let's actually go ahead and... So there we go. We got Cooper being a good boy, laying on the mommy, on the Cooper cam. I'm gonna throw that back up there for you guys for some extra enjoyment while we go through our dungeon. Stephanie, you are on. She was expecting to be on at 8, and it's 8 o'clock, so good timing on my part. Alright, so let's go ahead and put on Iron Will, and we are good to go. It's been a while since I've done the Wanderer's Place, so... I think this is probably the one dungeon that I ran the most when I was doing my, oh, that's right, we do not want to encounter the large Tonberry. We want to let the treasure hunters do that for us. Like I said, guys, this is the first time I've been doing this one in a while, so I'm going to assume that my party members are not with us in the Twitch stream and in the chat, so my apologies to you guys in the chat, just in case you're here. I'll try not to be a crappy tank. So I know one of the major things is that we do not want to, that large Tauntaun to be catching up with us, so we kind of want to make sure that we're moving and keeping an eye on where they are at all times. There it says, actually, do not allow the Stalker Tonberry to catch you. So that means I gotta constantly be looking back and see where that lantern is. If I see the lantern, that means I gotta start moving. Thankfully, it looks like we've got good DPSs on the team, so we are able to keep her moving pretty quickly. Alright, so I'm going to take a pretty big pull here, and I'm going to hang out over here, see if that buys us enough time for the lodge, yeah, Joseph. If only I could speak. The large Tonberry. Alright, good progress. Keep it moving. So for those who are a gladiator and eventually a paladin, really Total Eclipse is such a good move. I really am a big fan of it. It's great for your mob control, making sure that you are maintaining enmity and that they are pissed at you and only you. We are on to the first boss. Actually, I realize now that there is no more Cooper on the cam, and it's just Stephanie. So, hi Stephanie. We're ready to go. So we can allow Stephanie to actually get up from sitting on the dog bed. I took the camera off of her. No more Cooper cams since Cooper decided to go and branch out on his own. I have a feeling if this keeps up with his independent streak and not wanting to be a good little puppy anymore, I'm afraid that he might open up his own Twitch stream and try and be in direct competition with us. And I have a feeling that he'd beat us, and he would have more viewers easy. In fact, I would probably watch him rather than watch me. Alright, treasure coffer. What do we got? Warlock's ring bands. Level 50 magic. I'll pass on that. I'll let someone else go ahead and grab that. Come on. So I feel kind of bad for the party to a minor extent because I'm not pulling as well as I could be. Vicode Nevermore is doing a great job of healing, and I could definitely pull larger mobs at this point in time. So I think that's what we'll do, is we'll start pulling some larger mobs because Vicode is doing a great job. Alright, so our treasure hunter is taking care of the larger Tauntaun Fours over here, and I made a mistake by going and deciding to stare at them while they die for our benefit. And wasting time. Is it really a challenge if we utilize all the time available to us? Or should we not make it more difficult for ourselves? Oh, that's right, there's another Tauntaun. Bad, Joseph, bad tank. Alright, at least I have eyes on him now, so I feel a little bit better about maintaining that. So we want to actually double back over here, because we do not want to run into him. And then we will make our way into the center. Oh, no. Why are you doing that? Alright, so let's do that. I'll pull these guys. Taken that direction, so let's head over here. How are things looking? We got our Tauntaun friend turning around. Sorry, DPS friend, I did a bad job. Alright, so keep running, guys. Where's our Tauntaun friend? Lesser-known Baldwin brother, everybody. J-Bars Baldwin. Oh, we gotta get moving. Don't want to run into that guy. Alright, let's buy us some time by running to the end of the hall. Flask. So now we can at least go back to this rusted Nimian device and handle that. Now we just need to wait and see what happens with our other Tauntaun friend. Kirby is being a G and distracting our friend for us, while Nevermore handles the device. And of course, I'm here to ruin everything. Alright, so now we can make our way over to the final ease, wherever that is. I forget where that is. Is it down over here? I believe it's down over here. Am I going in the wrong direction? I assume I'm going in the wrong direction, and I'm about to be killed. Bad tank. Worst tank ever? No. Close enough? Yes. I'm in the contention for being worst tank ever. Since I've done this dungeon, so let's see what we got. That was pretty quick. Now we can go make our way to defeat the Tonberry King. And then I think that will actually be the end of my time with you guys for tonight. good pull now. So now we can actually put bytecode to use here. They've been actually not to use. They've been of use the entire time, but actually we can make them work a little bit because it's been pretty easy so far for them. Let's go ahead, pick up our lantern oil, hit our rusted Nemean device, open up this bad Larry, and take on the final boss of the dungeon. You hear that, Stephanie? You're on deck, coming up soon. Oh, silly me. Forgot there's another monster that we have to defeat. Not this one. There we go. Alright. Now we got that final oil for that last rusted Nemean device. Before everybody dies. Alright. The Chantry. Burn him quick because we're about to get overtaken by a crap ton of Tomberries. Alright, we just got that in. And we leveled up. Awesome. That's what I want to see. I want to see a level up before we get done. Like I said, doing the duty roulette gives you a lot more experience than you would otherwise get. So that's a great way for me to end my time with you guys. Thank you very much for the Lost Baldwin brother, Kirby, and Vicode Nevermore. You guys were great. I'll leave the Grimoire for someone else. So our Baldwin brother ended up getting the Grimoire, so good for him. Alright, we are now level 54. We still got 6 more levels until we reach 60, so we can unlock a couple of more classes. We're still making our way towards Ishgard. We are chugging along. We're making progress. So, thank you for staying with me. What we're going to do is I'm going to exit the Rising Stones. I am going to make my way to an area to save so I know where to go. So that way when we pick it back up, I think on Monday, we'll be right where we left off. All right. So here we are. I'll actually stay right here next to Slathborn over in Mordona. This is a good place for us to end. So what I'm going to do is we are going to wrap it up. We'll take a quick break, and then we'll get Stephanie in here in probably about 5 minutes, and we'll be able to get her to play some Sims 4. So let's go ahead and do the following. You guys know how I like to end things with you. So let's go ahead and do that. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in to watch me play and continue my Final Fantasy XIV series. It was an absolute pleasure. Grez, thank you so much for keeping me company in the chat during the course of the live stream. Thank you very much to Crass Loves Danger as well for being a participant in the chat. Greatly appreciated that you guys are with me on a regular basis. It really goes a long way. For those who did view or will view, just know that we appreciate every view that we do get. Please follow if you haven't followed. Please, at any point in time, if we're not online, head over to our videos on demand. You are able to view any of our live streams. We keep them on there for you. And also head over to our YouTube page as well, so you'll be able to watch all of our videos there as well. Again, thank you so much for joining with me tonight. It was an absolute pleasure. And until Monday, I'll see ya.